What people don't understand in America is that rebellion against Neo-Confucian order, is the moral thing to do. There's a role that's being assigned to you, right? There's a role that's being assigned to you, and there's a role that's being assigned to you and is being enforced onto your life, you know? Against your will, against your consent, your limitations and of possibilities are being defined and enforced onto your life by other people. And especially like with my father's family, like, and in regard to my mother and myself, they would all get together, you know. My father would drive to Houston. They would have these family meetings. It would be just the brothers and maybe a couple sisters or something. But the wives and the children would be excluded. And they would make decisions about where like the collective money would go and who would get it and who it belonged to. And they would make these decisions without representation. Now, my mom had community property rights, right? And I had inheritance from that community property, right? Am I allowed to go through here? I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to walk across here. 1 second. Hold on. Tiptoeing. So, okay. You know, and those decisions were major decisions, right? And they don't understand, like, they don't have boundaries with each other. So the moment you try to assert a boundary, right, they get deeply violated and offended that you're asserting a boundary. Like, they don't understand, like, individuality, right? And you're allowing these people to come into the United States who don't understand individuality. They're not individuals. They're not individuated. And then they're forcing people to conform with their non-individuated order within America. And you have to understand that it's not explicit. You know, like, they did pass the citizenship test, right? It's not a matter of idea, it's just a matter of psychology. And not only psychology, but unconscious order, right? It's a matter of the formative order that formed these people and formed their collectivity and shaped them and traumatized them to play roles relative to each other for the rest of their lives. You understand that? It's not about like what they think, it's about what they do and the way they behave and the way they're motivated. They're sadomasochistic hierarchies in a sadomasochistic order. They get off on cruelty and establishing like cruel power dynamics, you know? I don't know, right? And then the US government expects me and my mom to not rebel against this, or I don't know what it expects, but it is responsible for literally importing Georgian tyrannical order into the United States after the revolution has been fought, right? That's what the US government is responsible for, is licensing and importing and not providing a clear means of recourse for this situation. And you have to understand, like, expecting a 2-year-old to articulate this is not fair, because there is an explicit, like, explicitly we're Muslim, and both Islam is opposed to this sort of order. I mean, the whole story of Islam is eliminating this sort of, the whole story of the Prophet's life is eliminating this sort of order, you know? And this sort of sadomasochistic hierarchy. And then, you know, the American Revolution is all about that. The Magna Carta and the British project, you know, of limited constitutional monarchy is also about that. And so, and in Pakistan, you know, you have to understand, like, de jure, or what people want to believe about themselves. It's like there's the Islamic social contract, and there's the British Enlightenment social contract, which is equivalent, like a philosophical approximation, at least in the Pakistani mind, you know. And then you have like traditionalist Eastern order kind of in there, like as a secondary, tertiary thing. It's not unacknowledged consciously. But de facto, what rules and governs, no matter how modernly ideated someone is or how religiously ideated they are, right? What actually governs is crypto-fascist, crypto-feudal, Eastern Neo-Confucian, sadomasochistic, pre-modern psychology and order. That's what actually determines order, psychology, and behavior amongst people. And when you get to the United States, the children of the immigrants, right? Like, they have to deal with this by themselves. And the thing is, they're not just dealing with their own family. They're immersed in a whole, collectivist order. They're immersed in like a communal order, like Uncle so-and-so, Auntie so-and-so, and Dr. so-and-so. They're immersed in a communal collectivist order, and their parents have elicited a deep fiduciary absolutist sort of trust in them, and so have the family friends, quote unquote. I grew up with like 1,000 people, uncles and aunts, and uncle, like not real uncle and aunts that you called uncle and auntie, like this sort of stuff. And so you grow up with this huge Neo-Confucian set of authorities in your life, and by the time you can like do the work, the psychological work, like I did, to get out of that psychologically to some degree, you're being punished for it the whole time, to the point you've been deprived of all goodness. You've been deprived of everything that you had a right to through your teens and 20s as an American and as a Muslim, and subject to the de jure social contracts and explicit contracts that you formed. But you've been deprived of all of that. And to not just like detriment, like a normal, but detriment to like where you're sick psychologically and physically, you're financially extremely disadvantaged, your expectations and habits are way beyond your means because of the position, like the way the thing has unfolded. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really overwhelming. It's really overwhelming. And by the time you get your shit together, like psychologically, you're in a worse position pragmatically and practically. You know what I'm saying? So if you are the scapegoated party in Neo-Confucian order, that is basically you've been murdered. Like, you're living a living death is basically one way to understand it. Anyways, I'll stop this there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.